This episode of the Amateur Traveler podcast is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from the smart people at NerdWallet. From choosing the right travel card to dodging hidden fees, Smart Travel helps your money go further. Literally. They cover all things travel finance, like which travel cards are actually worth the annual fee and which just look shiny, how to plan group trips that don't bust your budget or your friendships, which flight deals are actually deals and which are clickbait, and when it makes sense to book your flights with cash instead of points. So they cover all the stuff we don't. And there's a reason for that. I don't know these subjects as well as the smart people at NerdWallet do. So if you're looking for information about financing your travels, check out Smart Travel. Travel smarter and spend less with the help from NerdWallet. Follow Smart Travel wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks to Smart Travel and NerdWallet for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. Fall is in full swing, and it's the perfect time to refresh your wardrobe with pieces that feel as good as they look. Luckily, Quince makes it easy to look polished, stay warm, and save big without compromising on quality. Quince has all the elevated essentials you need for fall. Think 100% Mongolian cashmere for only $50. Washable silk tops and skirts, and perfectly tailored denim, all prices that feel too good to be true. Is this the time for you to get a new wool coat? They look designer level but cost a fraction of the price. By partnering directly with ethical top-tier factories and cutting out the middleman, Quince delivers luxury quality pieces at half the price of similar brands. This might be the time for me to update my fall wardrobes and pick up a new sweater, since I have some trips to cold weather destinations coming up. Keep it classic and cozy this fall with long-lasting staples from Quince. Go to quince.com/traveler for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/traveler to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler, and thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler, and this is not a normal episode of Amateur Traveler, but a bonus episode in what I'm calling the More Travel series. This particular episode is about taking night trains in Europe. So stay tuned and learn more. I'd like to welcome to the show Bart from triptailor.be. And Bart sells night trains in Europe and occasionally still works on them. And that's the subject of this special episode of Amateur Traveler, Night Trains in Europe. Bart, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi, Chris.
So what is your connection with night trains? You told me you still work on night trains as well as helping people figure them out.
Indeed, yes. It all started with a student job, in fact, when I was in my student years and looking for a job to make ends meet of the student life that could be expensive. I found a job in the Belgian night trains that were still running quite frequently in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And I got myself a job as a steward on these trains, traveling through Europe, helping the passengers with opening their beds, giving them breakfast, stuff like that. And that's where the train, and especially the night train, bit me. And I tried for about 20 years to get rid of it by working in the IT sector and doing all kinds of things, nothing to do with trains. But it was still there. I couldn't get rid of it. About 5 years ago, I decided to return to the trains, start this travel agency, which is, of course, my main activity. Helping people around Europe in trains, not only night trains, also day trains. But I really like the concept of night trains. And I also found this one company, European Sleeper, that is running a train from Belgium to Germany and the Czech Republic. And managed to get myself in there and work for them about once a month as the steward team on the train. I really like that as well.
And what is it, I'm curious, that drew you to night trains? Well, to trains.
To trains, yeah. I've always liked traveling. There's a lot of pictures of me as a small child looking into maps, figuring out countries and routes to countries. And I was always quite intrigued by the places outside Belgium, let's say, and by holidays and stuff like that. And the train, by working on them as a student, I just found out that it's like the nicest and most comfortable way to cover long distances when you're traveling in Europe. Much nicer than a plane, if you ask me.
Okay. And then, since we're talking more specifically about night trains, who do you recommend night trains for, and when are they appropriate to use?
I would recommend them to anyone making tours through Europe, wherever they are available. There's a lot of places that are not connected by night train and
Mm-hmm.
where the day train or a plane is the better option. But if a connection exists, it's a nice way to travel during the night, so not losing any time on the way and being in the city center of the next city you want to visit in the morning and in the center, not in the airport with still some transfer to be done. And it's a lot more hassle free, I would say, than flying by plane because you go from city center to city center. You don't have transfers, you don't have security controls, things like that. It's much more relaxed than the plane experience.
Okay.
Also, let's say you're a couple and you're traveling together, being in your own private compartment with the lights out, looking at city lights passing by is quite a romantic setting, quite relaxing setting also.
Why don't we take your favorite night train route and then describe to people what the experience is going to be like?
Yeah, easy question. So my favorite route is from Milano in Italy, Milan to Sicily. So
Okay.
all the way down through Italy. So you get on the train in the evening around 8 p.m. in Milan Central Station. And during the night, you go down through Italy, waking up around Salerno in the morning, which is a bit south of Naples. Typically, the city where you would get off if you want to visit the Amalfi Coast, which
Mm-hmm.
is quite a known area. And from there on, you can start waking up, and your window is facing the sea. And the train goes down all the way along the Tyrrhenian coast with very nice views. In the meantime, you have some breakfast, not a very large one. It's Italy. They're not very big in breakfast, but still you get something and a nice coffee and a newspaper, which is also a nice touch, I think. And then by the time you risk getting bored of being in the train boards the ferry because there's at this time
Which
there's
is the most bizarre train
yeah
trip I've
yeah
ever heard of. I haven't done it personally, but
no
yeah.
it's yeah so yeah it's special. So there's still no bridge between the mainland and
Mhm.
Sicily in the south of Italy. So trains are loaded on a ferry. And as soon as the train is on the ferry and the ferry starts moving, you can leave the train and walk around the boat, get some sea air, make some pictures of both the mainland and the island. And then by the time the ferry goes to the other side, it takes only half an hour. It's not very long. Back to your train, and you just continue your journey on Sicily in the direction of Palermo or Catania, Siracusa, all in one go. And nice experience. The best, I think.
Okay. And we talked about this being a night train, and you said we get some sleep. Let's get a little more specific here.
Yeah,
So there are multiple options and different tickets that I can buy on the train. I'm assuming I can have a seat or a compartment. You're recommending a compartment.
absolutely. Yes. I think, well, seats are great if you're on a budget and if you're a
Yep.
student and you're young and you recover easily from a night of not eating, let's say.
Sleeping
Uh,
sitting up. Yeah.
yeah, or maybe not sleeping, but yeah, just being able to go through the night and still enjoy the next day,
Hmm.
even if you haven't slept. But if you want to get some sort of good sleep, you have to go for a compartment. And then there's still two types in most European trains. You can go for a couchette compartment, which are basically bunks, lie down bunks, or a sleeping compartment with real beds. As soon as you're in a couchette compartment, you can lie down. There's also different levels. You can be in a six-person compartments, sharing with five more strangers. Or you can be, maybe if you're a family of four, book your private couchette compartment and have it to yourself. But that's only bunks. So you're lying down, you can sleep, but it's not the best bed. Sleeping compartments have a maximum of three places and have real beds and offer a good night's sleep, if you ask me.
So the couchette is a bunk that is coming down from the wall.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. So the two top bunks, there's 6 bunks in each compartment, 3 on
Yep.
each side, and the two top bunks are open from the start. They're always fixed. And then let's say the lower bunk is the one you're sitting on in when it's still day, and then the backrest becomes the middle bed, the middle bunk
Got
when
it.
you go
Okay.
at night. There's one extra category I could start mentioning because it's popping up more and more from the Austrian railways. They have their own brand of night trains. They're called Nightjet.
Hmm.
Basically, it's night trains heading out of Vienna in all directions. They have a new type of place which is called mini suite, where it looks a bit like these capsule hotels in Japan, where you basically have your own sleeping place and it's private, so there's walls around you, but it's very small. And the advantage is it's not as claustrophobic as it sounds. You can still sit up and there's a window so you can look out. But the good thing is that when you're traveling alone and you're still looking for some privacy while you sleep, which is very
Ah,
understandable, that's a way to get your privacy for a more affordable price.
got it.
That's the mini suites. And they have them now on 6 or 8 of their night train connections, and there's more coming in all the time.
Okay. No, I can see why that would be advantageous for especially a
Yeah,
solo traveler.
exactly. Or couples also, because you can book 2 of these capsules, one next to another, and then there's a small opening. Let's say, how should I call it? There's like a window between the two compartments which you can open. Like
Okay.
sometimes in hotels, you have 2 rooms, one
Yep.
next to the
Adjoining
other,
rooms. Yeah.
and then there's a door that can be opened, but only if both sides agree to open it. That they have the same system in the mini suites. So if you like to talk to your neighbor, you open it. If you don't, you keep it closed. But if you're a
Got it.
couple, it's also an affordable way to travel privately.
Now, with the cabins, I'm usually having a bathroom inside the cabin, is what I've seen, including a shower. Is that typical?
No, it's not typical, but
Okay.
thanks for mentioning it because it's something I forgot. There are indeed some of these sleeping cars, so this highest category I mentioned with real
Yep.
beds. There's some connections in Europe where there's also compartments with beds and the shower and the toilet, which they are typically called deluxe, and
Got
they
it.
exist as well. Yeah, a bit more expensive and not in every country.
For instance, if I'm doing the mini suites, then I've got a bathroom in the car, but obviously not in my suite.
Yeah, that's it.
Eh, Okay.
Basically, with all types of trains, you have the bathroom and the toilet in the hallway, except if you have this deluxe situation where you have your own toilet and shower. In a
Okay.
sleeping car, you do have a little sink, wash basin to wash your hands, brush your teeth, things like that,
Hmm.
but nothing more. In some trains, there's also some kind of communal shower. So a shower in the hallway that can be used by everybody in the car, but also that is not general. It's only on a few connections. Mm.
Okay.
If there's one thing about night trains that make them a bit unsuitable for business travel, because of course I'm a travel agency, I always work for leisure customers. If you would want to sell it to more business customers, you would need to have this shower and toilet all the time
Yeah.
individually, because you cannot imagine being in the train all night going to some business meeting and not being able to take a shower before you get off. That's
That
incompatible, I
would
would say.
be a little rough.
Yeah,
You might not be presenting yourself in the fashion that you were
that's the
hoping
thing.
to at that.
But the new trains Austrian railways are rolling out now. The situation is getting better and better, but it's not yet fully covered. But as soon as they have it everywhere, even if of course the price will get higher, I think we'll be able to attract more business customers as well into the night trains. Also because a lot of companies now are very conscious about ecology and things, about green travel, and they're always
Hmm.
looking for ways to operate in a greener way. So if they can put their traveling employees in trains rather than planes, it's something they can make publicity about, something they can state on their website saying, look, we are green, which is good marketing these days.
Thanks for selling your car to Carvana. Here's your check.
Whoa, when did I get here?
What do you mean?
I swear it was just moments ago that I accepted a great offer from Carvana online. I must have time traveled to the future.
It was just moments ago. We do same-day pickup. Here's your check for that great offer.
It is the future.
It's the present and just the convenience of Carvana. Sorry to blow your mind.
It's all good. Happens all the time.
Sell your car the convenient way to
Carvana.
Pickup times may vary and fees may apply.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent, savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
We talked about routes. You told us your favorite route, that route from Milan down into Sicily.
Yep.
Are there other routes that you particularly recommend for taking the night train?
Let's see. I think there's some nice routes in France as well, which have the disadvantage that they don't offer sleeping cars. So the best you can get there is the couchette car, maybe
Okay.
privatize it in some trains. So in the way of accommodation, they're not the greatest, but the routes are also very nice. You can get a night train from Paris to the French Riviera, for instance, to Nice and Antibes and Cannes, these cities, which is also a very nice experience, leaving Paris in the evening and then waking up to the Mediterranean. Great, but it would be much greater in a sleeping car. So I hope someone is working on that. But also other routes through France to the border with Spain, where you end up in the Pyrenees, is a very nice route as well. And it's especially interesting because these are the kind of routes where the day trains don't offer very viable alternatives. They're very slow. France is known about the high-speed trains, but
Sure.
they're not going everywhere. And for instance, getting to the Riviera by train in the day is still quite a long journey, even if you use high-speed trains. Same thing with the Pyrenees. They're very useful, but also nice as an experience, leaving Paris and waking up in the south. Then I think another, of course, I'm talking for the company I work for now, but the connection between Brussels, Berlin, and Prague is also a very useful connection. It's maybe not the nicest route landscape-wise, but it's very useful to get from Belgium, the Netherlands, and also from the UK when you're connecting with the Eurostar train to Berlin and Prague, which are touristically very important cities. And both Berlin and Prague can, of course, be reached by day as well, but it's a bit tedious as well, with very flat landscapes on the way that are not interesting at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a very useful and nice connection. There's some good connections also in the east of Europe. I'm not sure if these regions are well known, but going from Poland or from Slovakia to the coast in Croatia, for instance,
Okay.
is also a very nice route. Going, I don't know if you know about the city of Split on
Sure.
the Croatian
Love
coast.
the city of Split.
Great. So there's also a very nice train running there from Slovakia and Austria, and also from Poland, where you wake up in Dalmatia with a great view of the coast from high up. Very nice experience as well. And also very useful because there's not a lot of planes flying that route. The roads are not that great. Very useful as well.
We have an article that someone wrote for Amateur Traveler that's their favorite 11 routes that are night trains. One of the ones that has occurred to me that I've thought about is that London to Edinburgh route,
Yeah.
which gets you that international flight into London, which often has good connectivity, and then get up to
Yeah.
Edinburgh for extending your trip up to Scotland.
Yeah, in fact, that's a very nice train as well. I didn't think about it spontaneously. I wouldn't so much recommend it to go to Edinburgh because it's a very short night. It's a bit a pity.
Okay.
You get on the train, I would say around 9 p.m. you can start, or 10 p.m. you can start boarding, but the train only starts running at midnight and it arrives quite early to Edinburgh. So you don't have a
Got
really
it.
proper night of sleep. But that same company also operates Caledonian sleeper trains to the north of Scotland, straight into the Highlands.
Okay.
So 3 or 4 hours north of Edinburgh in Scotland. And they have very nice destinations like Fort William, close to the Ben Nevis mountain, Inverness in the Highlands. Those are very nice trains as well. And these trains are quite new. I think the ones they're running now are only 4 or 5 years old. Seats are not. The car looks nice, but they're very uncomfortable. I would say the seats, but the beds are great. And in the morning you get a great breakfast, full English breakfast with a view on the Highlands. Very nice. One of the connections is to Fort William has a nickname. It's called the Deer Stalker because there's a very good chance in the morning to see deers close to the train running away from the noise, of course, but you see them from the window. Because
Got it.
it goes through very rough landscapes, but very nice. Yeah, thanks for that. It's absolutely to be added to the favorite routes. Absolutely. I didn't
And the
know.
other train that occurs to me that I've been hearing more buzz about lately is an extension to the Orient Express. That there's a new Orient Express route in Europe, and I'm trying to remember where that goes.
I'm not sure. So, of course, Orient Express is a great train, but it's a private initiative that is very costly.
Right.
So it's not something I'm actively promoting through my travel agency, not because I'm against it, but the booking process is quite easy. I don't have any added value into booking an Orient Express for you. You just go to the website and click and pay, especially the last part can be painful. But yeah, I wouldn't typically think of it as a favorite route because it's so expensive that it's
No,
like
it is a luxury train.
once in a lifetime experience. Yeah. One I hope someone is willing to offer me at some point. Let's say.
You and me both.
So it could be that you heard about the extension to Istanbul. I think it's the train typically, so the traditional Orient Express of the end of the 19th century.
Was Paris to Istanbul, yeah.
Exactly. Whereas the one they're running now with these refurbished Orient Express cars typically runs between Paris and Venice. Or
yes, I think you're right.
Like from London to Venice,
yeah.
Even if there's some coach travel in between to cross the channel. But I think it's about 2 or 3 times a year they extend the whole thing to the original destination, Istanbul, which is, of course, an even greater experience, but with an even greater price tag, of course.
And if that's the high end of the night trains, what's the best budget night train? The one that's going to make the budget traveler happiest?
Excellent question. I think you will always find the best budgeted trains in the central and the east of Europe. Connections between Poland and the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, up to Romania, Bulgaria. Those are the more budget-friendly night trains. Even if you're in the high-end accommodation, I'd say like in the sleeping car from Prague to the east of Slovakia, or any sleeping car connection in Poland will not cut you back a lot of money. And you have the same type of comfort as you would have in countries like France and Italy. Nice for the budget and also nice for gaining time if you're doing a tour of Europe and you want to include some of these Central European cities like Warsaw, Krakow, Prague. Especially in these northern countries, the landscapes are not that spectacular, so you don't miss much by covering them overnight. And if you compare the cost to the cost of a 3-star hotel, the train wins. So a lot of good reasons to take them if you're on a budget.
Now, what else do we need to know about finding the availability of night trains? I would send people to your website, but it is in Flemish, which is a little bit of a barrier for those of us whose Flemish is poor.
Yes. Yes, of course, the whole thing about trains, night trains, but also trains in general, is that they're not that accessible online yet as we are used to with planes. If you want to take a plane, I would say almost anywhere in the world, you just go to a website like Skyscanner or Momondo or things like that, and you
Yep.
can find all the connections, all the companies. Trains are not that open yet. There are some initiatives, Omayo and the train line, that try to group some of the trains on their websites. But the disadvantage is that even if they are able to sell tickets, that the real contract is still with the railway company, which doesn't always give the best connections, prices, etc. I dare to say you need the help of an expert, like a travel agency specializing in train travel, if you really want to have the best itinerary and prices possible if you're doing a tour in Europe. That's the actual situation. Because if you don't do that, in fact, you need to go to all the national railway company websites, country by country, compare what they have on offer to find out what exists in the night train department. I would say the biggest offer of night trains is done by the Austrian Railways, Nightjet. Of course, they have their own website, nightjet.com, with all their train connections. So that's a start, but there's a lot more night trains than only the ones they are selling. And if you want to find them, it's not on that website, it's on another one. So there isn't any initiative at this time that shows all the night trains. Or if it does, not all the possible tariffs and promotions.
Got it.
Yeah, even if my website is in Flemish, I'm still willing to help also in English. And with me, a lot of other travel agencies in Europe, of course.
Excellent. Anything else we need to know before we consider a night train for our next European holiday?
General advice I always like to give is when you're preparing a tour in Europe and you're comparing different possibilities to get from A to B, you typically have the very low-end budget option, which is taking a bus. And then there's trains and then there's planes. But make sure when you're comparing prices and timings to take everything into account. Because at first sight, the plane always wins. But it never mentions the time you lose at the airport, the time you lose with transfers, the fact that the night train, if you're in the night train and you're in a good compartment, in a sleeping compartment, it helps you on spending less on hotels.
Right.
But the thing is, on first sight comparison, the night train almost never wins at first sight. But you have to think of all the other side advantages when you're comparing. And also, there's a lot of websites stating all kind of prices. It often looks more expensive than it is or than it can be done. Sometimes you look at the price, you think, wow, that's expensive, but maybe by using a rail pass and just paying for the reservation on night train, things get a lot better budget-wise.
Sure, yes, rail passes make things.
There's a lot of things to consider.
Yeah.
But it's so worth it, I'd say, if you're traveling to Europe, to include a few night trains. It's such a nice addition to a Europe tour, I'm sure.
Excellent. Our guest again has been Bart from triptailor.be, which, as we mentioned, is in Flemish, but if you could get a translation app, might be able to use that. Bart, thanks so much for coming on Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your knowledge of night trains in Europe.
It was my pleasure. I always like to talk about night trains. Anytime.
When kids don't play, they grow up without creativity. They'll try to blend in and wear chinos. Or worse, polyester chinos. Good thing Gushers, Fruit by the Foot, and Fruit Roll-Ups are made to be played with. You better be playing.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the ultimate first day energy back to school. It all starts with on-trend outfits for that front door photo shoot. Plus, the coolest tees, shorts, and jeans to take them through the rest of the year. Get them ready for their close-up. And keep them comfy, too. Make this grade their best one yet. Shop all things back to school, in-store, online, and in the app.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Like the regular episodes of Amateur Traveler, my thanks to the patrons of the show who help sponsor this episode as well. If you're interested in learning more about becoming a patron of the show, go to patreon.com/amateurtraveler. There are still slots available on the Amateur Traveler trip in May 2026 to Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. Go to amateurtraveler.com/trips to learn more, or just drop me an email. And with that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to chris2x@gmail.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And thanks so much for listening.
Got to see one more cathedral.